All right, hello and welcome everyone. It's your boy realBluTV, and we're back with a recap video this time of what happened during the CMG September $10,000 Rogue Company showdown. Of course, there is some spoiling news, or some bad news actually, if you are a Justice Roco fan. I know I picked them to win in the breakdown video, but usually what's been tending to happen whenever I say things, when I do analysis for esports, no matter what esport it is, whoever I pick ends up losing. So maybe I knew that was going to happen after all. Hey, let's get right into the recap, though. Let's not waste any time because that's what you came here for. All right, starting things off in the tournament, we had the number 1 seed going up against number 16, the Innovators, and it was a one-sided match for most of the time, but in that first game, the Demolition on lockdown, I mean, the Innovators, they banned Dahlia. Remember, these people, this team, this roster, some of these players, they've done this in the past before. It almost worked out for them as well. They actually were able to get 6 rounds off of Cordiality. They even had a very good defense to start off. But hey, when there's no Dahlia, Nash, he just picks Saint. That was actually the only time Saint was picked the entire tournament. Both those times, he ended up getting a 100% win rate because of that. He was picked twice, obviously only in one game. So minor success on demo, but the Innovators still couldn't find any success. Who's That had no problems adjusting with that new team on day 1, by the way. And then when we get to the respawns, well, that was pretty much a shutout. 2-0 in the King of the Hill on Windward. And then when we moved to the Skyfell, on Strikeout, oh my, that was a 3-0. And that one was a little bit more one-sided than the other 2 games. I mean, we saw Silhouette come out on Phantom, only grabbing 5 downs, was using the KA-30. We'll talk a little bit more about some guns here in a little bit. But game 3, like I said, Skyfell, Cordiality just ran away with this. After they banned Runway, which was interesting because Cordiality used it 3 rounds, or three halves before that. They used it a lot. Innovators did not. They only used Runway 1 time, and that was only for 1/2 of the Demolition. So Cordiality saying, you know what, we don't care if you don't play Runway, we're going to get rid of it. And that's exactly what they did. Great shots as well. And look at this, Rixie. One of the only, I think actually he was the only member still using the Devo with Dallas. I remember Cool was using it with a Dima, I believe, later on in the tournament. But again, Cordiality in round 1 was dominant over the Innovators. But hey, the Innovators, they did find success. That Demolition actually was very close until about the second half. You go back and you look at that, they had the Talon and on defense along with that Chalk. They played Fixer on both sides of that demo. So things got very interesting in the way that the Innovators were trying to bring some interesting compositions and interesting strats to the table. Talon actually did not have a really good win rate. Let's go on to the quarterfinals that we were able to see on broadcast. That was the number 2 seed Gaming Gorillas going up against the number 7 seed, the Homie Squad. This one actually went 4 games. Yeah, you heard me right. The Homie Squad V2, or there's 2 E's in there. The Homie Squad V2 was able to push Gaming Gorillas to a 4th game, so of course they had to play 2 King of the Hills. But, I mean, only demo was lost by Gaming Gorillas, and that was the game that pushed us to game 4. Here's a fun fact for all you fans out there. If you didn't watch every single game across the different players' point of views, that was actually Gaming Gorillas' only loss on Demolition. That's right. They lost to the Homie Squad in Demolition and didn't lose to anybody else. Spoiler alert, they had to play Just Us twice this tournament. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Gaming Gorillas, they looked good in the respawns. Even though they thought that was not their strong suit coming into this, they had to get better at it, and that's what they were doing. As you can see, some beautiful shots coming out with the Phantom, and that was something that helped them succeed. 8-2 on the Demolition for the Homie Squad. So not only was it a win on Favelas, it was a dominant win. I think they started off, 6-1 going into the half. So that was huge for the side of the homie squad. A little bit of success coming out of their way as well. Pixie actually was playing attack Vi, but yeah, the only round they won on defense or on attack in that 6-1 half was because Pix basically had to get the 4K. Game 2, King of the Hill on Palace. That was a 2-0 by Gorillas. Then we go to our Breach strikeout, another shutout, 3-0 again. And of course, Game 4 was King of the Hill on Favela. So they go back to Favelas, this time in a respawn, and it was Gaming Gorillas who were able to overcome their Favelas disappointment earlier in the set, and they were able to win that game 2-0. So homie squad looking good. You win 8-2 on demo, and then you don't score a single round in the next 3 respawns. That might change though, right? Because Demolition is replacing Strikeout as game number 3 in the month of October in those best of 5. Still going to be demo, King of the Hill demo for those best of 3s and qualifiers, but looking forward to seeing 3 demos in the best of 5s now. What teams really have to crack down on themselves about getting better at demo, because you're not going to be able to get away with just winning respawns the whole time. All right, Cordiality versus Right Turtle. That, of course, was our semifinals matchup that we got to watch. The other side of the bracket for the semifinals was Gaming Gorillas versus Just Us Roco. Remember, I told you that was the only demolition they lost. They ended up beating Justice in the demo there, but then Justice was able to close it out 3-1. But Cordiality versus Right Turtle, that's the number 1 seed versus the number 5 seed. Check this out. Game 1, Demolition Canals. It was an 8-4 victory for Right Turtle, but Glitch was banned. Ronin was banned in that first game. That leaves Trench open, and they needed a lot of intel. So what did the teams come out with? They picked Dallas on both sides. There was a Talon on the attacking side of Cordiality. That didn't work out for them. And then there was a Talon on the defensive side for them as well. But they played the Anvil instead of the Dallas. That might have been their problem. Not too much intel. And when you look at the other side, you have a Dallas, and you also have a lot of stuff being refilled with that runway for them. Game 2, we went to Favelas for King of the Hill. Slop and Emis just continue to be respawn dominant players at this point in their careers, and they showed it there. Game number 3, we went to Strikeout Lockdown. That was a 3-0. By the way, the King of the Hill was a 2-0 as well. Cordiality, they had enough of Slop's runway, apparently. They ended up banning that out in the strikeout, which is something we didn't see a lot this weekend, despite runway being so good, everyone thought coming into this. I've actually got some rogue stats to give you later on in the video, but just, hang tight with me here for a minute. Nash played Ronin on the strikeout, and, ooh, man, it wasn't the best, but he did find some successful moments, did get a couple plays made. But Prosper, Seeker, only 7 downs in Game 3, but the assists and those reveals were enough to support his team and lead them to victory. That's right, they 3-0 Cordiality in that semifinals. Then we go on to our winners finals. Now we're starting to get into day 2 here. Okay, Just Us Roco versus Right Turtle. Does anyone want to talk about how this is a number 1 and number 2 team for the past year, and now we're looking at them as a number 3 seed and a number 5 seed? By the way, if you remember what I said in the breakdown video, just Right Turtle, only time they've ever won a $10,000 event, they were a 5 seed. And this is the first time Justice has been a lower than a 1 or a 2 seed. So the odds are looking in Right Turtle's favors. Winners finals, though, was a very entertaining matchup. I mean, it was a 3-1 overall. Right Turtle were able to knock Justice to the losers bracket. Game 1 was a demo lockdown. That was an 8-6 in favor of Right Turtles. They banned Anvil, and they played a defensive chalk. The only other teams we've ever really seen this do before this month, or this bracket even this weekend, was the Innovators. I mean, they banned Dahlia on lockdown, and they play a defensive chalk. It didn't work out for them in the past. It looked like they were trying to play attack on the defensive side, but now other teams are starting to pick up on that, get very aggressive with those flashbangs and that chalk on the defensive side. That's exactly what they did. Game 2 was a factory King of the Hill. That was a 2-0 in favor of Turtle. Runway was available, but was not picked by either team. Maybe it's just because it was factory, or maybe both teams just wanted to go with the Dahlia Scorch combo for Justice, and then on the other side, you had Dahlia Scorch and Dahlia for Right Turtle. So not only do they have that fire immunity with Dahlia and Scorch, but they have a Dallas for an extra incent as well. Dahlia Scorch on the other side. Gronky had a tough time. He only had 1 down in round 1. He had 2 total downs, so 1 per round there in game number 2. Game number 3, we went to Skyfell. That was a 3-1 in favor of Justice. Vi and Lancer bans. No Scorch, no Dahlia either, right? We saw a Seeker for both teams. Frag, though, was using the Mambo with Seeker, and Pulso playing the Seeker for Right Turtle was using the KA-30. Gronky played Phantom, used the KA-30. Big bounce back compared to game number 2 where he only got 2 downs. He ended up getting 26 elims, 15 downs, 8 assists. So big props to Gronky there to pick himself back up. But then, that was a 3-1 victory in game 3 for Justice. So then we go to game 4. It's a 2-0 by Turtle. And guess what? Right Turtle brings Scorch back out. And Pulsa is the demo chalk, but Prosper is starting to become the respawn chalk for this team. And he's no longer the Scorch player. That goes to Pulsa in the respawns now. So rogue swaps over the course of the last month and a half have really benefited this team in respawns. All right, let's move on. We're going to Justice. Oh, by the way, Phantom did come back out in game 4. Didn't do as well with it for Gronky. Losers finals. Now that Justice gets knocked down, they got to face off against Gaming Gorillas, who, by the way, just came off of the only 5-game set for the entire tournament against Cordiality. That's right. Gaming Gorillas got taken to the brink of they got taken to the edge of elimination, but they were able to win that out against Cordiality 3-2. That was our only 5-game set the entire time. There were a couple 3-game sets because early in the losers bracket, it's best of 3. All right, so this was a 3-1. Gaming Gorillas lose to Justice. I actually wrote this backwards on my sheet. Ooh, I almost confused myself. Game 1 went in favor of Gorillas, though, right? So they win 8-3 on Demolition. And then we have to go to the respawns. That's where things get interesting because you have Scorch and Kestrel on both teams in Game 2. You have Vi, who's allowed through the ban phase and gets picked by both teams. And Ink pretty much just played Dallas all day. Like, you're going to see him on Dallas all day, right? But he pretty much went crazy, okay? In the respawn, in the demolition, he was 35, 18, and 12. And then in the respawn, he went crazy as well. He was 35, 18, and 12 in the respawn. The demo he didn't look too good on, right? And very just poor attack strats in that demo Palace from the side of Justice. But they bounced back and they were able to win that set because of those respawns. And that's what we're starting to see is Justice getting a lot better at the respawns. But guess who's better at the respawns? That's right, Right Turtle, because we're going to the grand finals and they are the ones who knocked Justice down to begin with. Right Turtle versus Justice. Oh my goodness, was this a heater. So we're back at the rematch, the textbook grand finals that we always think we're going to see. The demo on Palace went 8-7. Look at the rounds that are coming out, right? Justice, they got out in front very early on in this game, and they kind of were starting to look like they were going to run away with this. But then, battling back, pound for pound, ladies and gentlemen. Right Turtle was battling back in that. They were clutching up. This is actually the first time Justice used Runway, by the way. They've left her open mostly in the respawns, and they still didn't pick her throughout this tournament. This time, though, they do pick her, and it didn't work out for them. 8-7, great comeback from Right Turtle in Game 1. Game 2, we're going to Favelas for King of the Hill. This was another 2-1 victory by Right Turtle. They clutched up their demo, and then they come in here and they clutch up an overtime King of the Hill. Runway was open, but didn't get picked from either team. Turtles, they go chalk with their Molly and no Dahlia, right? So they had double Molly, no Dahlia, but they had the chalk on the team. On the other side, we had a double Molly plus Dahlia for that immunity. Right Turtle versus Justice. Oh my goodness. Here is their celebration call.
Hit one for me. I'm gonna help him all.
I'm right with you.
I fire the wall.
Nice fire.
Nice.
We can hop it, pulse. Let's hold it.
Hey,
Lay on the
hey,
left.
hop.
Let's A-bomb. A-bomb. One's cut. Oh shit, one's cut and one's here. Watch out. Don't feed, maybe. No,
Nice,
that's
nice,
fine.
nice.
Last guy low here, Slop.
That's one.
Get the kill, baby. Yeah, let's go! Let's go, boys! Let's fucking go!
That was the,
Delena!
that was the easiest shit like ever we've played them. Like that was. Oh my god.
Fuck it, let's get it, boys. We're crazy!
Like, I'm telling you, we're the like. Listen, no, MS, you were dying 30 seconds ago. Oi,
All right. I mean, they seem excited. I was pretty excited. I hope everyone else watching was excited as well. But we've got a couple more things here to point out real quick in the recap. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we got. Our top performers throughout the weekend. We split this into 2 days. A little bit difficult here. If we take a look, day number 1, we've got Slopadopoulos, Soka, Joker, Rixie, and Elvin. First of all, I put Elvin on this list because he did a great job. He helped elevate takers. I talked about St. Nelgib or Big Lens Backwards being that team that could be that breakout dark horse, could be a bracket buster, make their way through the bracket inside that loser's bracket, of course. But they did beat Go-Go Fluffy Ranger, so I was right about that. But they ended up losing. Empire of the Sun made it pretty deep. They got top 6. But the surprising team was Takers V2 with Elvin out there with them. So Elvin did a great job of elevating that team. I said this should be like Takers version 3, and it is the best version of that roster so far. Prefire, Sinmei, Diaz, the other 3 among that squad. So they just need to keep working together because the improvements are coming. You can tell they made it very deep and even beat some pretty tough teams in that losers bracket as well. Then we've got Slop. Obviously, Slop was doing dirty things. I wanted to put Prosper on this list, but I didn't want to make the list too long. There was a lot of standout performances from every team pretty much in the bracket, except for the 4 forfeits that came through, or the 3 forfeited teams. Both beefies, by the way. Soka. Even though the Innovators lost to Cordiality, Hoppies and Soka, the 2 of them working together, especially in that demolition where they ended up losing 8-6, they were putting up huge numbers. They were making some plays, and Soka continued doing that into those respawns. I think he even played Glitch one time in a respawn and was still able to top frag with that, which is something we're not used to seeing in a respawn with a Glitch player. So great job to him. Joker, Rixie, of course. Again, Cordiality had a really good day 1. Until they ended up losing to Right Turtle, but that's okay. They bounced back and made it pretty deep into that loser's bracket. Day 2 is really where everything fell apart, right? And we'll talk about how I think they did, or Gaming Gorillas also kind of fell apart in day 2 is what I was going to say. I'm getting a little mixed up. It's been a long day getting all these notes in, and I actually watched all the matches, even some POVs from teams that weren't on the official broadcast. So, oh man, I watched them all when it happened live, and then I watched them again today. So it's been a very long day. Sorry. Let's talk about day 2 though. Forget what I was saying. I'm mumbling over my own words here. Slopadopoulos did some crazy things. Of course, I've got all 4 members here from Right Turtle. Obviously, they had a really good day, too. Dominant performances, right? They beat Just Us 3-1, send them to the losers bracket, and then they come back up, and then they said, you know what? You're not resetting the bracket. You're not even going to win a game. They win 3-0. So all 4 of Right Turtle is on this list because they had a great freaking day, too. All right, and then I've got Rugi here. It was really hard for me to put anybody from Just Us on that day 2 top performing list just because they lost twice, and also none of them really had a great day, right? Like maybe Delana had an average day, but then when you look at like their demolition on Palace in the grand finals, where he played Lancer and just irrelevant pretty much. I mean, Rome even touched on it during the cast. If a Lancer either helps or hurts a team, and in this case, that Lancer was hurting the team. And then you can look at other things. Ink was pretty much just delegated to playing Dallas the entire weekend. And despite whether he did well or not, the team wasn't able to feed off of that energy that he would be able to put out if he was doing great. Frag, I feel kind of bad for Frag because he was kind of like that flex player where it was like he was like a flex ragdoll pretty much. He was being thrown all over the rogue spectrum. Oh, we need this. You got to play that, right? So like he was playing Anvil, he was playing Kestrel, he was playing some other things as well. They put Gronky back on the Dahlia most of the times as well, but Gronky just this did not look like the same Gronky that we are used to seeing. Hence why this team right here was able to put them away. But Rugi's on this list actually because that was the factor for Gaming Gorillas coming into this tournament, right? Because when we did our breakdown video, we expected them to come in with EXO. That's why we had high expectations for them. But then when we realized after the video was published, or myself actually, after it was published, you know, we're getting reports that Rugi's going to be playing for EXO. EXO went to Blood Hunt, whatever that may be. And I'm like, okay, Rugi's a good player, but does he fit? Is he up to par with the expectations we have for Gaming Gorillas and the other 3 members of that team? Can he actually replace EXO? I think he did a great job. Day 2, he did everything in his willpower to try and get this team to the grand finals. Unfortunately, there was someone that was hurting them, and actually, that's what we're going to talk about next. Our Bluester Booster Busts and our Bluester Boosters, right? The Bluester Boosters and the Bluester Busts. I think that's what I'm going to call these. Over here, the main reason, I mean, look at this. Cool, Gronky, Cordiality, just number 1 seed. We had high expectations for them. I had them beating Right Turtle in the winner's bracket. I actually had them making the grand finals. I really, really thought Joker and Rixie could propel to that next level, right? They're still right underneath that line. Like, you know, they're at the door. They just can't figure out how to unlock that door just yet. Or maybe they just got stuck in the revolving doors. Maybe it's a revolving door, whatever it is. Gronky's on this list. We just talked about Gronky. He had a really tough day, especially in day 2. I mean, look at what he was able to do. He played Phantom because he only got 2 downs on Dahlia, which you're like, okay, well, it's Dahlia. But then it's a respawn, and she's using that fire immunity with the Scorch. It's not, even when you play the Dahlia in respawn, it's not as much as, oh, I'm Dahlia, let me get revives. No, it's Dahlia. You're playing Dahlia so you can be immune to 2 or 3 incense on the other side, so you need to frag out. And plus with weapon mastery, you can use a Mamba instead of an MXR. You can use a different gun for your, I can't even remember what other gun is now. The objection, you can use the 24S or the D40C. You can get in there. You can make plays. You can frag out now. It's respawn. That's what you need to do. He wasn't able to do that. Only 2 downs. He only had 1 revive that game as well. So both sides of the Dahlia spectrum, no good for him. And then they went to another one. He played Phantom with the K30. He did great, and that allowed them to win that game. But then the next one, he comes back and he plays the Phantom again, and it just looked like that Dahlia performance again. Then that was just winners finals. Then you go to losers finals, and he had a tough time on the demolition. He was kind of middle of the pack when it came to those respawns against Gorillas. And then when they come to the grand finals, I mean, they got 3-0'd, man. It was just not Gronky's weekend this time around. And then we have Cool. I actually have some notes on Cool because Cool played well in day 1, but when it came to day 2, oh my man, he was flustered. He was frustrated. You could tell he was not in the mood to play the game. He was upset about maybe some bugs in the game, the aim assist problems. He had problems deciding which weapon to use, and there was a lot of moments where he would kind of tunnel vision, and he got that aggro kind of I need to run at them mentality and no backing up, no regrets, and he would just throw his life away. I was going to put some clips on here, but I didn't really want to like toss him out into the pack of wolves like that. But just some quick things I noted about him. He played Kestrel and he used the Nightshade most of the time. When he played Dima, he used the Devotion. That was a strikeout on lockdown. The Kestrel Nightshade he did with on Demolition Canals and King of the Hill Windward and some other games as well. And then when he used Runway, he also used Nightshade no matter what game mode it was. He just kept giving his life away. And then when we come to the losers finals, in round 1, of the Favelas King of the Hill. So game number 2, I believe this was. It was King of the Hill, Favelas, losers finals against Just Us. I am not joking. This actually happened. Cool Matt was using Kestrel. In round 1 alone, he had the Nightshade, swap to the KA-30, swap to the Hydra, swap to the LMPX. Round 2, he comes back out with the Nightshade and then swaps to the KA-30 again. That game only lasted 2 rounds. He just could not find a weapon that he was comfortable with. And then when we go to Breach, King of the Hill, which was also pretty tough for them, game number 4, he was playing Dallas. He was using the Mamba. Wasn't feeling comfortable, losing gunfights, swaps to the Nightshade, and then, of course, he swaps to the KA-30 from that as well, and then they ended up losing that 3-1. They won the demo against Justice, but couldn't get any further in those respawns, of course. So, tough day for Cool, tough day. Who was the boosts? Who got the boost this weekend? We've already talked about Takers V2, but the other team, Empire of the Sun, we briefly mentioned them. Losi, Chapo, Turner, and Drew Whitlock, who apparently, after the tournament, posted a free agent tweet. Like, Drew, are you joking me, man? Like, I'm getting kind of upset about these roster swaps, man. Like, you got to grow with some teams. And if you don't realize, let me give you a wake-up call, okay? So ring, ring, answer the phone. Here's your wake-up call. Empire of the Suns, you get top 6 with them. Top 6. Name one other time, Drew, where you've gotten top 6. Okay? Name one other time where you've gotten top 6 in a $10,000 tournament. Because I'll tell you right now, your team, Lagger, you guys were on the rise, but you couldn't. You couldn't perform in the 10Ks. That was always your problem. It didn't matter about qualifiers because you did enough. You did just enough to qualify for that 10K. But when it came to those $10,000 tournaments, you just couldn't perform at the level that was expected of you, right? Now you get top 6 and you're with a team that is the longest lasting 3-man roster. It's even longer than how long Lagger stayed alive for that while, right? So Empire of the Sun, they're looking for a 4th probably, and Chapo, Turner, and Losi, they've done great things. They bring in Drew, and they get top 6. Now what do they need to do? If Drew doesn't want to play with them, Losi, Chapo, Turner, go find another member who's at the same level of Drew or possibly better, right? And you guys could elevate from top 6 to maybe a top 4 team, all right? Because this whole moving around roster stuff, man, it's getting old, dude. It's getting old. That's my little rant for today. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we got here. All right, we got some random stats. I thought these would be interesting just to throw in here for you guys because I know you guys don't care about stats or anything like that. If Cool Matt's watching this, he definitely hates fucking stats. So there's that. All right, let's take a look at our gun stats here. So the KA-30 obviously was the #1 weapon used. 89% of the games we had a KA-30. And I'm going to tell you how many games we had here in a second. Mamba, 74%. That was the second most. D40C with 65%. And then after that, we had the 24S at 52%. The LR-15 full body, 38%. That's actually the sniper rifle for Phantom and Runway. So if you're confused with LR-15 FB is, it's LR-15 full body. It's the sniper rifle. Mostly Runway was the one who was boosting this stat right here. But then again, you see a lot of that KA-30 come out from her. And then the Nightshade and Devo at 16% equally between the two. And I think about 15% of the Nightshade was because of Cool. Maybe even all 16%. Just kidding, though. Let's take a look at some more random stats we got here. We had 6 forfeits. 3 in the winner's bracket and 3 from the same 3 teams in the loser's bracket. That was Beefy Buffalo, which was a team with Who's That, Nemes, Tahola, and Soka. Obviously, Who's That and Soka were on 2 different teams. That was pretty much a pickup team through the qualifiers. So Beefy Buffalo, of course, didn't show up because no one exists on that team. So they forfeited. Fantastic Bird also forfeited, and Beefy Panda. So if you get an auto-generated name in the next tournament and it has the word Beefy in it, it's probably not looking good for you in the future. And then, of course, we had 4 sets that went 3-1. So there was four matches that were 3-1. And then, this is the best part of this stat here. There's 4 matches that went 3-1. So 4 matches went 4 games. 3 of those were Just Us. Just Us is they were 3 of these 3-1s, and 2 of those were versus Gaming Gorillas, losers finals and their winners bracket semifinals matchup. So those 2 teams are responsible for 2 of these. Justice is responsible for 3 of these. Only 1 set in the entire bracket went 3-2. There were a couple 2-1s, but the only 3-2 matchup was Gorillas versus Cordiality, which was the round before losers finals. So only 1 5-game set the entire bracket. We've got some stats over here too. Let me go ahead. I've got all my I don't know if you guys can actually see that. You cannot. Okay, it's all white there. All right, so these are big charts with all the rogue picks. All right, so Lancer, Runway, and Vi led the way with 43% ban rate. Yeah, that's right. They were the most banned in the tournament. Lancer, Runway, and Vi. A lot of times, people didn't want to deal with them, so they were banned the most. Dallas was the most picked rogue in all of the games throughout the tournament. And Dallas also had the best win percentage with this, 55%, although he was tied with one other rogue, and that is Kestrel. So Kestrel and Dallas, 55% win rate. That was the highest out of any rogue that was picked, more than 5 times, I believe. But if we talk about just overall win rates, Saint was picked 2 times, both by Nash on both halves of that first demolition they played against the Innovators in the very first round. That was the only time Saint was picked in the broadcasted matchups, and he was 2-0, so basically he was 1-0. So, yeah, he was 1-0, so 100% win rate there. And then you have Chalk, who was picked. Where's it? I've got my pick percentage here. Hold on one second. Okay, I do not have the pick percentage. All right, Chalk he had a 64% win rate. Runway with 55, Kestrel. Wait a minute. I think I got that wrong. 1 second. Okay, yes, I did. All right, so the highest win percentage was Runway. Highest win percentage was Runway with 57%, and then Dallas Kestrel came afterwards with 55%. I don't know why I didn't put those in the proper order right there. Sorry for the misinformation. All right, so Dallas was the most picked. All right, Dallas was the most picked, but Runway had a 57% win rate. Dallas Kestrel 55%. That would probably be higher if it wasn't mirrored picks in games, which I don't think would be a good idea with Rogue Company, but it could be. It's food for thought. But yeah, Saint 100% win rate. Chalk had a 64%, but they were both picked less than half the amount of times as Runway, Kestrel, and Dallas. So there you go. You can have all of that for you. I guess you can say Chalk had the highest win rate, but still, he was only picked half the amount of times as Runway. But that's pretty much it for me, I think. Is that all we got? Yes, it is. All right. So, as always, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and of course, I'm still experimenting with how we're gonna do videos and what we're gonna do videos about. Will this happen after every 10K? I don't know. Will breakdown happen before every 10K? I don't know. Or could they be shorter, longer? It doesn't matter. We'll figure out a better format here very soon. So until then, everyone, stay safe and keep grinding. Oh, hello there. It's Blue. I'm a terrible dancer, so ignore that version of me on the screen and listen to my voice when I say thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and of course, click on another video of mine. I heard you'll like those over there. They're pretty good.